Each one of us has a story. Our journey has and is continuously impacting us. By listening to my guests share how they are discovering their best self, you will discover the best part of you. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in to Discover Your Best Self podcast. Today we have Miss Shaneve Suber. She's going to be telling us everything that there is to know about being a human resource business partner. I'm so interested. She's worked for a Fortune 500 company. And, Shaneve, please tell us, why did you decide to be on the podcast?
Well, I absolutely could not turn down an opportunity to collaborate and connect with somebody so dope as yourself. So, I mean, for
Oh, thank you.
starters, that was the first reason.
Thank you.
And then, yeah, absolutely. I would say secondary to that, just really in hopes that something that may be shared in the conversation today may, find its way to help inspire or encourage somebody to follow their passion, follow their desires, and go after something that they want to go after, essentially. So yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. Um, so tell us who you are, and where you come from.
All right. So as you said, I'm Shani Super. So personally, originally from Gary, Indiana. I am a believer. I am a mom and a wife. Again, originally from Gary, Indiana. I am professionally, currently, I operate as a human resources manager for a company called LSC Communications, where I help to oversee about 6 to 7 different sites. Prior to that, I worked for Target for approximately 8 years.
Okay, okay, cool. And so, what's your educational background?
Yeah, so I studied at Central State University, which is an HBCU. I obtained my bachelor's degree there, focused in communications, and then I went on to pursue and continue my education through Keller Graduate School, where I received my MBA with a focus in human resources.
Okay. And so, what's an HBCU? Everybody may not know what the acronym
Yeah,
stands for.
yeah, great question. So it's historically Black college or university.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And do you feel like going to a historically black college has helped or has impacted you, especially as a professional, or what type of impact has it had on you?
Sure. So I definitely would say that I've seen my experiences with attending an HBCU kind of bleed over or transcend into the work environment. I think one of the major ways, to give you background, it was important for me to go to an HBCU. So there was a level of influence from those around me in the area that I grew up in that had also attended HBCUs. But more personally, it was almost like a self-satisfying declaration for me to prove that those who attend an HBCU are just as powerful, just as equipped to go into the workforce and be as successful as those who attended PWIs. So that was kind of my self proclaimed declaration for attending it. So how I've seen that play out in the workplace, I think in a couple of different ways. So that same desire to prove self, I definitely feel like that reveals itself in the workplace for me. I still feel like there's a lot of pressure. It's kind of unseen, unwritten, but the pressure is there to make sure that you are proving yourself that you deserve to have that seat at the table, that you are just as adequate. So that pressure that I think was on me to go to an HBCU and the whys behind it, I definitely feel that playing out in the workplace. I would say secondary to that, there are just experiences that you will not get anywhere else that you get in an HBCU. There was a lot of adversity. There were definitely challenges and struggles that I think I know I encountered attending an HBCU. Um, it definitely taught me grit. It taught me how to have an attitude of tenacity. So I think that tenacious attitude and that grit
Mm-hmm.
definitely play in the workplace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So tell us, what does a human resource partner do?
Yeah. So I would say, I think for different organizations, it could mean something different. But I would say traditionally, what you would see an HRBP or human resources business partner do, they're a strategic partner for the leadership team. So they are an extension of a senior leadership team where they are there to help provide guidance and counsel on things such as performance management. How do you continue to develop talent and grow leaders in areas that you may see that they need to grow in? You are a partner for legal as well, right? So we want to make sure that we're helping our organizations do things the right way and make sure that they're in compliance with certain policies and procedures.
Mm.
So we're definitely a key player for them there. And then I would say the last piece for a human resources business partner that traditionally has not been a huge focus is going to be data analytics. So I would share with you that that's kind of just come on the scene, at least for me when I was with Target, where you are now expected to be able to assess your business from a data standpoint, analyze it, break it down, and understand how you can drive process improvements, obviously drive profitability. And retain talent. So that data analytics piece is something that I think newer for a lot of organizations as an HRBP.
Okay, okay, awesome. And so, how you mentioned you worked for Target, and how has that um, been for you as far as that experience working for a Fortune 500 company impacted your career?
Yeah. So I would definitely say it impacted me in a lot of ways, Shanice. Working for an organization of that size, I know I was afforded a lot of opportunities that if I had worked for a smaller organization would not have been maybe allowed those opportunities. So there was a lot of investment in my development. There was a lot of investment in seeing me get to where I wanted to go ultimately. So there were a lot of people who mentored me, who poured into me. And I think just with smaller organizations, you don't always have that luxury. So I think definitely the development, the investment was something that was huge working for that company. I would say additionally, the other aspect is working for a Fortune 500 company is the opportunity to move around and travel, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I was given opportunities to kind of move around and take on new challenges. So that in itself was very scary. It was challenging.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of risky, and I didn't know how I would do, but I was able to get into those situations. Really, and becoming comfortable with being uncomfortable. So again, I think two aspects, definitely the talent, I'm sorry, the development in myself, as well as opportunities to move around and travel.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that a lot. That had to been it's overwhelming, but at the same time, like you
Yeah,
said, the opportunity is like, wow, now I have this experience that no one can take from me.
yeah,
And so I think
absolutely.
that that's awesome being able to have that in a company that size. Because now, you're somewhere a little bit the smaller.
Sure.
Okay. And so how has that experience groomed you to the position that you're in now?
So I would say taking on the new challenges and being in environments where I was made to feel uncomfortable,
Mm-hmm.
I would certainly say that equipped me for now going into an organization where again I'm now again uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
But being that I had already gone through that a couple different times with Target, I was able to combat it or really just overcome some of those things that you deal with transition a lot quicker. Had I not had those opportunities with Target, I honestly probably would have not even ventured out. So I think one of the main things I learned was to be a risk taker, and
Yeah.
that was something that was not natural for me. And so making those moves definitely, I think it propelled me and it forced me to be that risk taker. And so now being with this organization, my eyes are wide open. Again, I feel like I've been able to transition a lot smoother than what I
Mm-hmm.
probably would have been able to.
Right, 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 right. Okay. And so, um, the reason why you decided to be in human resources, why did you take that role? Because that wasn't, like, I would say, a fit that you were thinking about when you got out of school, right?
No, it wasn't. You're right. So, I was in college. I'm like, I want to be a news anchor.
Yeah.
That's my life. And, senior year, I was like, well, maybe not. Maybe that's just not what I need to do. And so, it's interesting you asked the question because I was thinking about this. And honestly, I feel like, so on a personal level, I get great satisfaction from just knowing that I've been able to help somebody in some level of capacity, some capacity, in some type of way. And I think, honestly, when I think about human resources, yeah, there's a lot of things that, tough decisions that you have to make. But at the core of it, it's really about how are you helping someone in some fashion. And so I feel like my personal values, honestly, is what helped to guide me down the path of wanting to operate in the human resources space, essentially. So I'm able to do it personally and on a professional level as well.
Right, right. Okay, good. And it's so funny because it's like we think that we're going to be in these roles when we get out of school, but then you discover like, okay, actually this is cool. This is where I want to be. And then you have an
Right.
impact on other people, I think you told me you were managing like a team of 1200. Was that the number?
Yeah.
I
Yes,
mean, that is a lot. And
it is.
so to have that kind of influence and impact on an organization, that's power within itself. So, Shaneve, in the corporate world, a lot of times we think that titles or positions may not play a part in us climbing that ladder, right? But, do the things that you've done to get to where you are, do titles play a position in that and why?
Yeah. So really, really good question. And they do. Um, it took me a while to to really come to the conclusion or to, I guess, to appreciate that it is how it works. But I would tell you that I have grown to realize that it's not just about having a title and feeling like the title defines you, but it is more or less about you have to have certain titles to be able to influence and lead and make impact in the way in which you desire. And so the title does allow you to kind of have that authority, to have that, again, as I stated, like that level of influence to be able to drive those initiatives. And without them, you're oftentimes subjected to, being in roles or remaining in roles that where you're limited. So in order to really progress, as you stated earlier, and try to get to the C-suite, titles they definitely do matter.
Okay, yeah. And as a and let me back up real quick before I ask you the next question. You know, a lot of times for us to get that seat at the table, and even if you wanted to branch off into your own business or do some other things, that title still goes with you, right?
Right.
And not to say
It does.
that even if you don't, you can't build something, because you can, but being a minority woman, in leadership, those things help, and it helps, hone and give you that respect that's needed to sit at that table.
It does.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, as an HR business manager, why do companies need to invest in building their companies from the inside out and in their employees?
Right. So, um, it's honestly, it's really it's a fundamental concept that um, employees, I mean, they're the heart of the organization. So, your question really, it's a good one because I think a lot of companies can lose sight of this and can lose focus. But as you mentioned, it's very, very important that leaders, whether they're HR, directors, whatever level they're at, it's very important that they stay very close to the people who help to continue to run the organizations. So the employees essentially. It's important because retention is huge. If you're not investing in the employees that are already there, you are going to struggle trying to bring anybody inside of the organization. So as you stated, like you've got to be able to work on those who you already employ and make sure that they're being heard, that they have a voice, that their concerns are being addressed adequately. Otherwise, you run the risk of being able to build a brand or a reputation that's not well respected in the communities in which you serve, and you're not able to retain or attract talent. So that's why it's really important to make sure that you pour into and then you invest in your employees so that it's a return on investment. So that you're also able to because what happens is they go out and they talk about it, right? So they're that voice piece for you in the organization, and they spread how well they're being treated, how well they're respected, what they make, and so that attracts talent for the organization. So it's huge.
Right, right, right. And for you, in your role, how do you want to impact the organization, and why is that important?
So I think I would love to be able to look back and look at my footprint and say, wow, okay, I was able to do a couple of things. And I think those two things for me, first, obviously for any organization, it's about making sure that you're able to, remain profitable. So I think for me, whether it's the role that I'm currently at or if I progress, I think one of the ultimate goals is to make sure that I'm being strategic enough to make sure that I'm able to assess the business at all angles and make sound, good decisions and judgments to be able to continue to progress the organization in a favorability direction. So I think that's really one goal for me. Aside from that, on a more personal level, as you stated, as a woman of color, one of the impacts that I want to make sure that I make is that I am able to bring somebody else up with me, right? So it's not just about me being able to get a seat at that table. Am I bringing along in the journey with me, and how am I training and teaching them and giving them the tools and resources to be as successful or even more successful than I am and that I've been. So I think that for me is kind of the stamp of approval, or to say, wow, like be able to do some great things and in my professional career is to be able to pass that on.
Right, right. That's really impactful. I like that. um,
Yeah.
so tell us, what do you believe discovering your best self is?
Oh, it's that's I love the way it's phrased. I love the question. Like when I hear it, I instantly think about it's really unpacking who you are at the core. It's discovering who you are, uh, whether it's in its rawest form, whether it's good or bad, but it's becoming self-aware. That's essentially what it is. It's becoming self-aware of who you are, what you want to change, what you love about yourself, um, and being unapologetic for it in a sense, and just knowing your truth. It's operating in your truth. It's being okay with who you are. So I think that to me is what discovering your best self means.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And what is it about your journey that you want to make sure your kids experience or not experience?
So the first thing is, I think a lot of us, being of color, this was instilled in us, and so I think one of the experiences along my journey that I absolutely want to make sure that my kids um, can take on is just really understanding what strong values are, what you stand for, what you don't compromise, um, and knowing how to work hard for things, and that things are just not given to you. So I definitely want them to be able to look at my journey and say, hey, I want to make sure that I duplicate that. Um, the one thing that I would change about their journey, and it's something that I wasn't taught. So I was obviously taught to work hard, which obviously is a very good trait to have. But I think the one component that I wish to do a little bit differently, I want to teach them to be able to work hard, but know how to work smart. That was a piece that I think for me and a lot of families of color, you grew up learning to work very, very hard, and no one really taught you what it was to work smart. And it wasn't until I got into some of the positions that I've been in, and I've learned that you don't have to always go the speed that you've gone. You don't always have to go to the degree that you've gone to get where you need to go, and you can
Right.
there's ways to go about it. So I think for me that is one difference that I want to make sure that I am able to project onto to my kids, so that they know how to go after things and get things in a different manner, that it doesn't cost them or compromise certain things for them throughout their journey.
Right. No, that's impactful because, like you said, working smart. It's a combination of working hard and smart.
Right.
So that you can get to those goals. So yeah, I
It is.
appreciate that insight, and I think that other people will see that very valuable as well.
Yeah.
So question is my last one. What is
Right.
there anything else that you would like to add or have anyone take away from this?
Yeah, I think to really just end it, like when you said, what does discovering your best self mean? I think this is a excellent platform that you've built, that's bringing all types of women from different backgrounds to the table to share their experiences. And so I think if I could leave anything, um, that would help inspire or encourage someone is, um, I would say it's okay to so risk,
Mm-hmm.
taking the risk.
Mm-hmm.
That would be one thing that I would leave out there. It's okay to feel afraid, or to not know all the answers all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I think as long as you are willing to be uncomfortable and take risk, there is so much opportunity out there that awaits you. And I think you just got to be able to get over the uncertainty, and that's where kind of the faith steps in. So being able just to stand firm on your faith, being able to just move with a purpose, being able to say, hey, I may not have all the answers,
Mm-hmm.
but I know this is where I'm led to, and just taking that chance.
Mm-hmm.
You would be surprised at the growth, at the
Mm-hmm.
connections, at the lessons and experiences you can take away from those opportunities. So
Right.
definitely just take risks. Don't
Yes.
be afraid.
Don't be afraid. I like that. Because, and one thing I just want to point out before we end this is, when you were telling me that you had to move, your family for
Yeah.
that position, but you knew that that impact was going to have on your career and the experience that you were going to have and how overwhelming it was, you did it in
Right.
spite of, because and now you're in another position where you're able to go back to being a little bit more comfortable, but you had to get uncomfortable and take that risk to get to that
Yeah.
point. And so I think,
Absolutely.
yeah, and many of us don't do that, and we step away, and then we're like, oh, well, I'm not where I wanted to be. Well, if you would have took that risk in the first place when you were
Right.
supposed to at that time, then you wouldn't feel like that. And so, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, that was a really good one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if I could just add one thing, because you said something that triggered my thought process. I think one of the things that I know I personally battle, and there may be others out there who battle with the same thing, but there may be a fear that you are not good enough. There may be a fear that the gig is up and now you're going to be exposed
Yep.
because you question your ability to be able to do more. I know I struggled with that before I made this transition, and I think it really is coming to terms and really understanding and looking deep and saying, you know what, I am where I am for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
I do have what it takes. I know I'm good enough, and I can make this happen. I think that's huge and that's important, because sometimes we block our own blessings because we feed ourselves these lies about ourselves that's not even true, and others are able to see that potential in you that you're not able to see within yourselves. So not only do you need to be able to take risks, but I think there is a component of the fear of you're not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And so if there is someone that's in that situation, and you're teetering between taking a risk or staying where you are and you're very complacent, I challenge you to look deep and say, you know what, why am I holding myself back? What is it about that next step that I'm apprehensive about?
Mm-hmm.
So really self-reflect and evaluate where you are, get over yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and take that risk.
Yeah, most definitely. Awesome. Thank you so much. Despite some of our technical difficulties, we
I
made it. That
we
was
did.
really, it was really good. I appreciate you taking the time out, to do this interview. I think that your story is impactful, and we from the Midwest. And so it's
That's
something
right.
about the Midwest women. We the best,
That's
Gary, Indiana.
right.
They had, hey, Michael Jackson. Who else from Gary,
That's
Indiana?
right.
Muhammad Ali.
Um,
Am I tripping?
I don't know.
Okay.
MJ.
Okay. But yes, absolutely. Thank you. And, we will be in touch. So tell them where they can find you either on Facebook or Instagram.
Yeah, so I can be found on Facebook through Shaneve Suber. The last name is Suber, and on IG it is Suber. No, I'm sorry, it's Shaneve Suber on IG as well. So
Yep. Perfect. Well, thank you.
awesome. Thank you for the opportunity, Shanice.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for listening to Discover Your Best Self. Don't forget to subscribe and comment. Follow us on Instagram at Discover Your Best Self.